The upcoming stories can all be found in various religious texts, but the atheist content creators telling the stories are drunk. So, whilst the stories are genuine, the details may be embellished. A little. Welcome to Holy Spirits.
In the name of humanity and of the great gift of its beautiful juices, we now pass around this cup. Take of your own. Take sips, all of you, as we feast on the good and glory of all humanity, and as we drink together and as we sip, together being imbibed, as true community gets drunk together and stays together. Cheers, motherfuckers. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's my communion toast.
Cool. I have
Unless you want me to do it again. I can do that as many
No.
times
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Okay.
I just had a thought as it was going on that if we pass around the cup, am I going to get gonorrhea?
Depends on what I put in the cup, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I don't believe so. I think you're safe. So hello, all you heathens. This is Drew Bekius. That's my name. I'm Drew Bekius, resident heretic at large, whatever you want to refer to me as. Former pastor, former minister. I've done some work with the Clergy Project, some other orgs, some stuff in humanism, humanist communities, things along that line. And now here I am. And we're going to talk about, in a not fully sobrietiated state, the devil's juice. We're going to be talking about Ehud and Eglon. Eglon is what has caught my focus more than any. Eglon, the king of Moab. And Ehud, one of Israel's, the early Israelite nation's first leaders, before they were a monarchy, before they were a dictatorship, maybe when they should have been. Ooh, what the fuck does that mean? That's what we're going to talk about here with a little Holy Spirits. Cheers, folks. Any more Holy Spirits? Hold on. I was told that you always want to speak into the side of the microphone. If you speak in the top, is it bad? Like, can you not hear me if it's in the top?
I mean, I can hear you. That's not as good.
Okay. I don't know. Either way, I'm going to speak into the side. Oh, there we go. All right, fuckers. Gather round, children. Heretics at large. Maybe even a little theists. A few theists. I invited my kids, by the way. I'm told my kids. My kids are both in their 20s. They're adults. And one is an atheist. The other one is a newly converted theist. That's fun. Anyway, so I invited them to come and join me. However, they're not here. So they abandoned their father, like always. But not always. They're rather fantastic. But let's get into the story, shall we? Gather round, young heretics. Gather round, dear children. Gather round, apostates. As we share a little story time. So tonight's story time, today's story, we're looking towards, let's see. So the mythology of this story places it, we're looking at around the 14th to 13th century BCE, before our common era, such as this. So what we're looking at, if we're looking, so we're in the Hebrew Bible, the Hebrew side of Christian theology, as opposed to the New Testament side and whatnots. So with this, we are this story places us 14th 13th century BCE, before the common era. We're looking at, there's this space of time a few hundred years or so after the death of the legend himself, Moses, and Joshua, his successor. They've both died. We all know who Moses is, right? So Moses, his successor Joshua, they've died. But we've not yet come to the holy grail of times where we now have the theistic dictatorship known as the monarchy, known as God's fucking kingship brigade. Okay. There's a few hundred years in this storyline where the historic ancient people of Israel, of the Hebrew people, they're growing, they're expanding, and they go through a time, a few hundred years, so the folklore tells us, where they are kingless, but not necessarily leaderless, but they're vacillating back and forth over these few hundred years. Where do we follow our assigned God Yahweh, or do we follow do we just follow our own humanity? Do we do our own thing? Do we dabble in the occult or other fucking gods and goddesses of other lands and people groups? And so during this time, there is this space where they're sinful, evil fuckers. Okay. And so where they're trying to choose now who your God shall be. Is it Yahweh, the God of Israel? Is it somebody else? But so anyway, so the big takeaway from this period of time is that from this mythology, if you will, fuck, maybe I drank too much too quick. Okay. So I'll tell you this, fuckers, little sideline. All right. I love alcohol. However, I rarely get drunk. My ideal state is slightly buzzed, like a drink or two an hour indefinitely. Like I like it where your lips start to feel a little numb, but that's it. But you're feeling good. You're sober minded. Okay. Be soberly minded. The New Testament would teach us. And I don't want to be, I don't like being drunk, but I said, you know what? This is Dr. Ben's show. And we're supposed to be a little intoxicated, not incarcerated. Don't be fucking incarcerated, motherfucker. Intoxicated, just slightly. So I'm drinking a little more than I normally would for you, Dr. Ben, because I love you madly, deeply, dearly. Okay. So, but back to the story, fuckers. Here, the danger of this couch. It's so amazing, but it like sucks you in. So like every 10 minutes or so, you got to like reposition yourself so you don't get sucked down deep within the couch. Okay. B-roll material. I don't fucking know, but okay. The story here, we find ourselves the budding nation of Israel. They are vacillating between, do we serve Yahweh, the God of Israel, or do we serve our own whims and desires, our own humanistic impulses, if you will? And throughout this section of mythology, historical story, we find this vacillation where the people of Israel, they serve their impulses and are therefore conquered by other nations around them. And this is in what we would think of as contemporary Israel today. Contemporary Israel, contemporary Jordan, in and around the Dead Sea, if you will. Well, not in the Dead Sea, but around the Dead Sea region is where a lot of this takes place. And so as we think of this, so during this era, these few hundred years, we find them going in and out. So what happens is Israel fucks up, they follow their own impulses, and so Yahweh, their God, so the mythology tells us, sells them to other foreign nations, foreign kings, enemies, if you will, enemy nations, enemy kings. And while they're there, then they're subject to these other nations until they turn back to Yahweh, their God, at which point Yahweh, their God, raises up someone referred to as a judge, but not like a judicial judge, but more like a judger of what's going on. Okay. God's eyes on the people. And so God raises up a leader from within the people to then go and lead them back to freedom away from whichever surrounding people group captured them temporarily. So what we want to focus on today, dear children, dear folks of the heresy, is on this time period where the king of Moab. So now we're looking modern day Jordan, just east of the Dead Sea, where Moab rises up and Yahweh, the apparent God of Israel, sends King Eglon in to conquer Israel, the Israelite people, the Hebrew people, conquers the Israelites, takes them captive for 18 motherfucking years. For 18 years, they are in service. The Israelite people, the ancient Hebrews, are in service to Eglon, the king of Moab. Now, what we find throughout this time period, though, and throughout this mythology, is that once the Israelite people, the ancient Hebrews, are willing to turn from their wicked ways and seek back out the God of Israel, then he sends a deliverer known as a judge. Okay, so we think today of the Hebrew Bible, the Christian Old Testament, as the book of Judges we might be familiar with. That book chronicles these few hundred years of God then raising up these deliverers, these saviors, if you will, to deliver them from whichever surrounding nation has conquered them. But one thing that this time period and this set of mythology does is it highlights the wickedness of humanity when left to its own devices, and their need, wait for it, their need for a theistic dictator. This is all setting up, cultivating within the mythology a need for theocratic rule that will eventually come through King Saul, the first theocratic king, leader, ruler, and then the great and lofty King David. But so what this set of mythology is doing is it's setting up this need. Look how horrible and evil humanity is. Look how much it truly will only be sufficient with a theistic dictator. But in the meanwhile, Yahweh, the God of Israel, is going to supply them with kind of fucked up human leaders along the way that aren't full king. They're not full king mode, but they'll do for now. And every one of these theistic leaders that God raises up, they're all fucked up in their own way. Like you think of like the womanizing Samson. He's womanizing. And it's his womanizing that ends to his demise, but he's strong and God raises Samson up, okay, for such a time as this. Then you think of like Deborah, fucking Deborah. She's a woman. She's a woman that God, but through their fucking misogynistic as fuck lens, they're like, oh my gods. Well, I guess God would even be willing to raise up a fucking girl to lead Israel, right? So it's like all these fucked up, flawed humans God raises up until eventually he raises up a fucking king to rule. Okay. So all of this, by the way, primes what it primes the pathway towards the normalization of a theistic king over any other form of rule. So if you want to apply it to other contexts, such as modern day ones, go ahead. But it's all that's not my point. But it's all primed. It's all primed. So this story, fucking hell, what a buildup. Here we find ourselves. Eglon the king, for 18 years, has ruled the Hebrew people, the ancient Israelites. And now after 18 years of fucking rebellion, the Hebrew people rebelling against their God, Yahweh, the one true Lord and God of them all, Now they suddenly turn. They're like, you know what? There's this religious revival, right? There's revival is in the land. They're turning back to Yahweh, the Lord, their God. And so God, in his benevolent generosity, raises up a new leader. And this new leader is Ehud, this new deliverer, a guy named Ehud. Now, Ehud is from the Hebrew tribe of Benjamin, which may be notable that the Hebrew tribe of Benjamin, guess what? Benjamin means of my right hand, son of my right hand, right? My right hand man, son of my right hand man. Some of us have maybe heard about how like left-handers in ancient times were thought to be like, they weren't looked kindly upon. They were thought to be not ideal. Okay. So son of my right hand man. That's what Benjamin means. Ehud was from the tribe of Benjamin. And yet, Ehud, so the mythology goes, so the myth goes, the folklore, if you will. Ehud was, it says that his right arm, his right hand was broken, was inhabilitated, was bound. Bound is the word. Thank you. I was searching for it. I say thank you to my own brain. Nobody else supplied it. But yes, his right hand was bound, which was a euphemism of the day of saying he was left-handed. Okay, his right hand was bound. It didn't work. He was a left-handed man. So he was a left-handed man in a day where left-handers, a day and age where left-handers were not thought well upon. They're weird. Maybe they're cursed. You're left-handed? What the fuck? And so Ehud, Yahweh was so desperate that he raised up a right hand bound, a left-handed active person from the tribe of the son of the right-handed man, raised him up, and he gave him a plan. And so we find in the story that Ehud, he stands up, he says, all right, gather around, folks. Guess what? Yahweh, our God, our ancient God, the God that we're supposed to be serving, he has given me a plan to reclaim our people and reclaim our land from the evil Moabites on the other side of the Dead Sea. And he said, here's my plan. But even before that, see, it's helpful to realize a little bit more about Eglon. Now, this story, this bit of folklore, you can think of it as a little stereotypically juvenile. Think of stereotypically junior high boys, stereotypically junior high boys folklore. And what's the kind of laughter they laugh at? What's the kind of jokes they make? Honestly, I shit you not, folks and family. I shit you fucking not. Did my drink just fly out of my glass and onto me? Anyway, this is a story that works really well. It's built for their type of humor. By the way, trigger warning a little bit. This is a violent story. It's a violent story that would thrill stereotypically traditional junior high boys. Okay. So Eglon, so the folklore tells us, most notably through the Hebrew/Christian Bible. Okay. Folklore tells us that Eglon was not a small man. Eglon was a large man. Eglon was what many interpret to be a morbidly obese man. And Eglon was kind of stereotypical junior high male humor. Eglon was gross. He was a gross motherfucker. Okay. He was a large, gross, reprehensible, detestable motherfucker. And so as a morbidly obese human, Ehud says, the Lord, Yahweh, God of Israel, has called me to rise up. I have a plan. And he said, I have already made, he pulls out his dagger. He gathers all the town people and he pulls out his dagger and he says, I have made this dagger. It's about a foot long. He goes, I'm going to use this dagger to kill Eglon, the king of Moab, and to deliver the Hebrew people from their oppression. And he says, here's how I'm going to do it. He said, I am going to take this fucking thing And he says to them, he calls them over and he says, listen, folks and family. He said, you know how when they pat you down, they only pat down your right leg? Yeah, apparently or left leg. Apparently they only patted down left legs because everybody was assumed to be right-handed. So of course, they would only pat down your left leg because you're right-handed. Anyway, that's yeah. So he says, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm a left-handed motherfucker. And so I'm going to take this foot-long dagger that I have made and I'm going to tape it to my inner right thigh, right? I'm left-handed, tape it to my inner right thigh. And so when they pat me down on my left leg, they won't know about it. They won't know. I'm sinking into the couch again. Okay. They won't know about it. They won't see it. And so I'm going to get in to the throne room and I'm going to get past the security and I'm going to fucking stab this motherfucker. And I'm just going to stab him. And they're like, well, how? They're like, that's a great plan. That's great. We love your left hand. Oh my gods. They said, oh my gods, like you. Well, no, they would have said, oh my God, like singular, because it was monotheistic people. And so oh my God, it's like, they're like, you're right. It's brilliant that you're left-handed. It's brilliant that you're left-handed because you'll escape security with a weapon. That's fucking fantastic. And then they said, but hold on, Ehud. Why would they let you in? And here's where he said, listen, he's not a small man. So the folklore says. So he said, we're going to bring him a good, generous grain offering. We're going to bake him a pie. We're going to make him a peach fucking cobbler, he says, okay? We're going to make him a peach cobbler. We're going to take that fucking peach cobbler up there, and I'm just going to, and they're like, oh my God, that's brilliant, they said. Oh my Yahweh, that is fucking brilliant, they said. Yes, go, we applaud you. So Ehud, he takes his peach fucking cobbler. He goes down to Jericho. That's where, so Ehud, he built a summer palace, and he's got a room up on the second floor where and it's like not a full wall, so the breeze flows through. Who fucking cares? It's architectural. We can talk about ancient Near Eastern architecture later if you'd like. But so it's blowing through. He's like, listen, he arrives. Ehud arrives and he says, listen, y'all, I have a peach fucking cobbler for the king that I want to deliver to him. And they're like, really? You have a peach cobbler? King loves peach cobbler. King loves his peach fucking cobbler. They're like, yeah, well, let's talk to him. So they go up, they talk to him. King Eglon's like, yeah, bring that fucking peach cobbler up. So he goes up, but then Ehud's like, wait, all these other motherfuckers are around here. Like, I need these other motherfuckers to get out of here if I'm going to kill this bitch. And so he says, listen, my dearest King Eglon, I have a message from my God that is only fit for you. And so I bring this peach cobbler, but I need to be able to share comfortably, know that only your ears will hear it. And so Eglon says, the folklore says literally that Eglon says, quiet. And then everybody, like, not only do they shut the fuck up, but they leave. Everybody out, get the fuck out of here. So all of his attending staff, they leave the upper room of the summer palace. They leave, they go out. And now it's, Jesus fucking fucks. Oh my God. So then it gets serious. Now it's just, all my shits and giggles. Now it's just Eglon and Ehud in the room alone. And so now Ehud says, but Eglon's sitting on his fucking throne. He's king, right? He's king. He's on his throne. And so he's on his throne. He's sitting in his chair. Ehud is respectfully a bit away. And he says, I'm sorry, dearest king. This is a whispering type of message from our God. It's a whispering type of message. I got to make sure they don't all these fuckers out behind us. Like I gotta make sure they don't. And so Ehud says, or Eglon says, okay, come forward. So Eglon invites him to the throne itself. And then he says, okay, but you gotta stand up. I feel like I gotta whisper it in your ear. I gotta whisper it in your ear, dear King Eglon. And so Eglon stands up. Fatal flaw. And so it's like you got to put a coin in the machine to keep it running. So Eglon stands up. King of Moab stands up. A little bit of gas. So Eglon stands up. And Ehud at that point, he puts his hand around Eglon's neck and with his right hand. Meanwhile, he reaches down with his left hand. I forgot to tell you about the peach cobbler. He's carrying the peach cobbler in his right hand the entire time, which makes him look like he's right-handed. They pat him down. Sure enough, they only pat down his left leg. These dumb motherfuckers, these fucking dumbass Moabites, okay? They only pat down his left leg. He's carrying the peach cobbler in his right hand in order to make it look like he's right-handed. He gets in. Now, the king, he tastes it. He likes the peach cobbler. Who fucking cares? Anyway, back to the good stuff. Okay, so he drops the peach cobbler. He wraps his arm around the back of Eglon's neck. And with his left hand, remember how he's left? Remember that? Remember that? He's left fucking handed. And he takes his left hand and he reaches down into the unsecuritized inner thigh of his right leg, the leg that wasn't patted down. These dumb fuckers. And he grabs the dagger from his right inner thigh as he has his right hand firmly holding his fucking head in place, and he stabs him in. So junior high. This is junior high entertainment. Junior high boys, stereotypical boys, right? I'm sure everybody can enjoy this type of humor, but I grew up in the 90s. Okay, so humor around violence was like stereotypically a boy thing. This other church, the first church that I was like a staff pastor at, so he would tell all these things to all the boys. He never told the girls. He's like, no, it's boy humor. I don't know, whatever. Stereotypical boy humor, I guess. Stereotypical. I think it's everybody humor now, though. Or it's not humorous at all. It's fucking violent as fuck. What the fuck's wrong with you people? What the fuck's wrong with this shit? Anyway, he pulls out his dagger in his left hand, and then he stabs it. The way the folklore goes, and I hope y'all realize when I say folklore, I'm talking about the fucking Bible. So the way the folklore goes is it literally says he stabs him with the dagger. And that Eglon is so, it says, fat that it absolutely envelops the handle of the dagger. The dagger is just gone. And it says, the story says that then the end of the dagger actually goes out Eglon's back. So holy fucking shit. Okay. So like, this is fucking crazy. Like, is this even possible? Dr. Bennett, I would love to hear an article or a talk from you about how possible this is. Cause I'm a little skeptical, but apparently, so the myth goes that that Ehud stabbed Eglon with such force that the whole dagger went into this fucker's belly. The blade went out his fucking back. There's actually the Hebrew verbiage on this. It uses words that are recorded nowhere else in all of Hebrew literature, ancient Hebrew literature. So there's actually a question: what does it mean that it went through his back? Does it mean it went to the back room, which sounds like even farther? I don't know. There's questionable on this if you study the ancient Hebrew. Right. I'm not parsing those words today. But so we'll say, so it went back. Okay, one version of the myth, at least, is that the whole fucking blade went through his back. But all versions of the myth are that his belly fucking enveloped, wrapped around, absorbed, fully absorbed the whole fucking handle. It's just gone. It's just gone. It's in him. It's in him. He fully absorbed the whole fucking blade. And so then he died. He fell over, and he's like in agony. And the way most people interpret this myth is that then he kind of like flailed around a little bit, and he was probably moaning, but he was definitely on the course trajectory towards his death and the ancient Hebrew people's deliverance. And so Ehud, this new leader raised up by Yahweh, their God, he was thinking, he's a quick thinking motherfucker. He locked the door that the guards were on the other side of, locked the door, shimmied out down the window, the back window. And fuck. And then, oh yes, the solution, by the way, when you're not sure because you've been drinking, is a little more. Keeps things moving. Got to keep it lubricated, folks. Got to keep it lubricated. So the folks on the other side of the door, they hear commotion. They start pulling on the door. They pull on the door. They realize it's locked. It's been recently locked. They realize. And so then they're like, but they also hear, they're like, King, knock, knock, knock. King, are you okay? And they hear some moaning. They assume, obviously, he's the one that locked his own. It's his fucking door. Obviously, he locked it. And so they assume that he is the official written down version of the myth says that they assumed that he was covering his feet, which is an ancient euphemism for peeing or going to the bathroom, right? Because you drop your drawers, so they're covering your feet. So he's going to the bathroom, aka relieving himself, they assume. And so they're like, oh, okay, he's moaning because it's a doozy, okay? And so they leave him alone, and then they knock later. He's still moaning. They knock later. He's still moaning. They knock later. Oh, he's done moaning, but it's still locked. So they're like, oh, is he okay? Is this motherfucker doing all right? So they go get a key. They got to look for the key. They got to find the key. They eventually come back with the key, and then they open it up, and they find, you'll never guess this. You couldn't make this shit up. Motherfucker's dead. They find this motherfucker dead. Okay. By that time, Ehud he's escaped out the window. He's back to his people. He's blown on a fucking trumpet, which is not a euphemism for a blowjob. Don't get too excited. He blew on his his own trumpet. Anyway, he blew. It's euphemism, not for what you're thinking. It's euphemism for mustering an army. He mustered his fucking army, and then they go in. It gets morbid from there, and they kill 10,000 Moabites, women, children, everybody, all of the fucking army, and then they take Israel, the land of apparently theirs, even though they stole it from others. They take their land back, and that's the happy-ish ending. That is the whole point of the myth, of the story, is to show how fucking fucked up humanity is without a theistic dictatorship. So thankfully, eventually they get a king that's actually just as fucked up as their temporary leaders. Anyway, if y'all know folks anxious for a king these days, we know why. Cheers, fuckers. I got to refill my drink.
I don't know, a blessing. Yeah. I hadn't been asked to do a blessing in about 15 years. So, yeah, here. Cheers to Jesus. Yeah.
Is that your blessing?
That's my blessing. This is his body.
Okay.
Today. Yeah.
If you were stuck inside a fish for 3 days and 3 nights, what would you do? How would you spend that time?
I would hope I had some form of like vape pen, THC or something. I don't know. And I would probably spend my time, going out on social media. Fucking, I'm in the belly of a fucking fish. I guess, yeah, I would hope my iPhone works. Just like, I don't know, shoot videos from it.
Imagine the audience gain that you'd have from posting that, like, hey, I'm live from inside a fish. What's
Dude,
up? Can I get some follows?
I think I got an idea for a fucking skit, dude. Fuck, we need to go into the belly of a whale and fucking like interview Jonah or something. All right. Well, hey, I am Les Clandenin. I am local here to Nashville. I grew up a Southern Baptist, was a Southern Baptist deacon and Sunday school teaching. Even gave a few sermons. The only thing that kept me from being a preacher is I just didn't feel right profiting from teaching about the Word of God. But today I'm here to tell one of the probably most famous Bible stories around. We all heard it. Most of us heard it as kids if you grew up in church. And that is the story of Jonah and the whale. And it could be really called Jonah and the big fish because that's what it calls it in the Bible. There's a big difference between fish and whales that I have since learned since I was a young lad. I just thought a whale was a fish. Turns out they're not. So, but I don't know what actually swallowed him. Maybe a sea bass or something. But we'll get into that. So, but I just kind of want to preface this about the story of Jonah. I love a good story, and this is just a stupid one. It's a waste of time. And the whole point of it, I'm not sure if God, what his agenda was, what he wanted to do. Things could have been made a lot simpler. And I think this is maybe where we've got a breakdown in some of our corporations today is because this is how they're learning how to lead. So I'll get into the story. So God comes to Jonah, and this is in the book of Jonah, chapters 1-4. God comes to Jonah, and he's like, hey, Jonah, the fucking Ninevites, they're really aggravating me. Now, he doesn't say why. He doesn't get into it, say what they're doing. I don't know what they did. They didn't have, free online porn back then. So, I mean, how bad could they be doing? So, but God wants Jonah to go and preach to them and get them to repent. Because if not, he's going to have to do some Sodom and Gomorrah shit on them and just destroy the whole fucking city. And Jonah's like, you know what? Fuck that. I hate the Ninevites, just fuck them up. I don't care. I ain't going. God's like, no, you need to go. You go. And Jonah's like, still, screw it. And I'm going the opposite way. So he takes off to his final destination is going to be Tarshish for whatever reason, but he has to go through Joppa. And in Joppa, he gets on the boat. And, God's probably telling him, like, hey, man, I'm God. I'm the one that made the fucking world. I can find you wherever you go. And Jonah's like, I don't give a shit. I hate the Ninevites. I'm going the opposite goddamn direction. So he gets on his boat in Joppa, headed to Tarshish. And then all of a sudden, this just violent storm comes up. The likes that the crew had never seen before. Worse than Gilligan's Island, just terrible. And the crew, they're so distraught. They don't know what's happening. And they're like, they start gambling, casting lots to figure out whose God has caused such this carnage and whatever. And, Lot, of course, it's the most violent storm that's ever happened. And Lot's just down in the belly of the ship, just sleeping away like nobody's business. But the lot is cast to Jonah. And so they finally wake him up like, hey, man, what the hell is going on? That, that your God is causing all this chaos out here. We're scared we're going to die. And Jonah's like, well, it's because I'm running away from God. And then in the very next sentence, it says, but they already knew this. So why the fuck were they asking? I don't know. It doesn't clarify that either. But then they're like, well, tell us, what do we do? Do we like sacrifice a virgin or, kill a bull or a goat or something to get him to stop? What do we need to do? And John's like, no, man, this fucking petty ass bitch, he ain't never going to stop until y'all just throw me overboard. And the guys are like, fuck that. Like, dude, your God controls the weather. We're not just going to murder his prophet. And John's like, look, guys, I'm telling you, as soon as you throw me overboard, the water's going to come. I promise you. So like, all right, fuck it. So they throw him overboard. And sure enough, the water's calm and they go about their merry way. And Jonah, this is where, the part that people know about most, he is swallowed up by what the Bible calls a giant fish. And he lives in this fish for 3 days and 3 nights. It's supposed to be like a semblance of Jesus. But Jesus didn't really be in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights. He was there like, I don't know, Friday evening and all day Saturday. But whatever. But one thing that I do remember that I want to add to the story is when I was a kid, I had a picture Bible book. I'm sure a lot of you did. And in it, I swear, there was a picture of Jonah in the whale. And Jonah is in the belly of the whale with a campfire. And I'm like, what the fuck? These people go fishing, they cut them open. They know what's in the inside of fish. Do they really think somebody could build a fucking campfire? I don't know. But but Jonah hangs out in there and he kind of half-ass humbles himself to the Lord. He's like, I'm your servant, And God's like, so you're going to go to Nineveh? He's like, yes, I will go to Nineveh. So he goes, all right. So he tells the whale, he's like, spit his ass out. So he spits him out and he goes to Nineveh. And it says in there, it said, if you're going to go to Nineveh, you need at least 3 days. I don't know. I guess it's kind of like going to Manhattan. You can't see everything in one weekend. You got to do that shit on like Labor Day or Memorial Day or something. So, but, so he's there and, and Jonah's like, hell, I'm going to go, tell him. He does. He just goes and starts telling them like, hey, y'all better straighten up or God is going to fuck y'all up. He's going to destroy you. And the Ninevites are like, okay, cool, man. You got it. We'll do whatever you say. No pushback. No, like, what the fuck did we do? None of that. They're just like, all right, yeah, sure. We'll obey it. Yeah. So Jonah, he's kind of distraught, actually. He's expecting he's getting to rain down some fire and brimstone on these motherfuckers. And, it's just like God's just going to save them. And he even gets pissed about it. And so instead of, getting on a ship and going back home, he just goes and sits down in apparently the bright sunshine, I don't know. And it says, and sulks. And it says he builds a shelter to shelter himself from the shade. But then the very next fucking sentence says, then the Lord sent a vine to cover his head and give him relief from the sun. Well, what the fuck was the shelter doing? I don't know. It doesn't say. But Jonah was happy that God sent him that vine. He thought, well, all right, at least we're back on speaking terms again. But then the next morning, God's like, that's enough being nice to you, piece of shit. Run away from me. So he sends a worm to eat the fucking vine. And Jonah gets all pissed. He's like, dude, what the fuck? Can't anything go my way? Why did you take the vine away from me? And God's like, and sorry. He also whines and cries about how he saved the Ninevites. Like, dude, I thought I was going to get to murder some Ninevites, and then at least you give me this vine and you take it away. And God comes to Jonah, and it's weird. This is where the story just kind of comes to an end. And it's like the end of it's not some inspirational thing about how we saved the Ninevites' life. It's almost like a business deal. Because God is like, well, did you plant the fucking vine? Did you tend it? Did you water it? Did you make it grow? But yet you're expecting to reap the benefits of it? Well, how much more should I reap the benefits out of these fucking Ninevites? Shit, I got stuff they need to do, and you just want me to kill them. And then it ends. That's it. So, and that is the story of Jonah and the great fish. Thank you.